to work through solving equations. We're going to start with very simple ones and advance. So first of all, an equation is a statement that two expressions are equal. So it's very important to have an equal symbol in there. And you have an expression on each side. The whole thing makes an equation. If we only had one side, so just this left-hand side or just the right-hand side, that would be an expression, and we would simplify, which means to remove any parentheses or combine all like terms. For equations, which is the whole thing, we solve, which means to find the value, which makes a true statement. If we stay on one side of the equal sign, we can simplify. When we work with both sides, we are solving. Our goal when solving an equation is to isolate the variable. To help us achieve that goal, we perform the reverse operation on both sides of the equation to get rid of terms. For our operations, remember we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So those are the things we want to reverse. For addition, we'll subtract. For subtraction, we will add. For multiplication, we will divide. And for division, we will multiply. And that will help us to isolate our variable, to get rid of a term. As promised, we're going to start with very simple equations and work up to advanced ones. So my first one is x plus 7 equals 12. So I want to concentrate on the steps. It is an equation. You make sure of that. Look for your variable. It's over here. This is what we want to isolate. Whatever else is on that side is what you want to make cancel. So we want to make the 7 cancel. It is added to the x, so we're going to subtract it. We have to do that from both sides. This one will cancel. That was our plan. Leaves the x, bring your equals straight down, and then do the math on the other side. 12 minus 7 equals 5. I know you could look at this and see what would make it true, but I encourage you to concentrate on the process so that you could do a long equation. X minus 5 equals negative 3. All right, it is an equation. Go on the side with your variable. So we want to get rid of this minus 5. So it's subtracted from x, so we're going to do plus 5 to make it cancel. Both sides. It's like a scale. You have to keep it balanced. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do both sides. Make sure your equals come straight down. Watch your signs on the other side. Negative 3 plus 5 equals 2. This one is trying to throw you because they're moving the variable to the other side. You don't care which side the variable is on. That is the side that you're going to look for, right? So we make sure it's an equation. It is. Go to the side that has the variable. This time our variable is y. We want to isolate y, so whatever is on that side, we want to make cancel. 3 is added to the y, so we're going to need to subtract a 3 to get it off of there. Do the same on the other side. Clean up. This leaves us y on that side. We don't care which side it's on. Over here, 1 minus 3, or 1 plus a negative 3 is the same thing. Different signs, subtract, and sign of the larger. It is fine to use your calculator. Our next equation, 3x equals 12. You want to notice that your variable is side by side with the 3. They are multiplied. So to get rid of that 3 to isolate your x, you're going to need to divide. When you divide by the sign of the coefficient. So we want to get rid of the positive 3. We divide by a positive 3 on both sides. That leaves us x equals 4. Let's try another problem. Negative 5x equals 10. You want to isolate the x. Notice it is side by side with the negative 5. That means they're multiplied. So to reverse a multiplication, you divide. You will have to divide by a negative 5, the sign of the coefficient. This will cancel, leave us x, which was our goal. Do the math on the other side. 10 divided by negative 5 gives us negative 2. Have one more of this kind. Negative x equals 4. All right, we don't want to leave an equation like this. We might have already done something and this is where we are. You don't want to leave this negative in front of the x. This is really like a negative 1 times x. So you can write it on if that helps. It's multiplied by x. To get it off, you're going to divide by the negative 1 on both sides. This will cancel and leave us a positive 1x, which is what we want. X equals negative 4. Our next problem, if you read it as x divided by 5, it will be easier. So it is an equation. We want to isolate the x. So we want to get rid of this 5. X is divided by the 5. To reverse a division, you're going to do multiplication. So we're going to multiply by what we wanted to get rid of. We're going to multiply on both sides by a 5. And so I'm just going to do it right here on the problem. So I'm going to multiply by 5. Over here, I'm also going to multiply by 5. And then I'll clean up. This 5 will cancel. That was our plan. So x equals, and then you just do the multiplication on the other side. X equals 15. I want you to pause the video here and take a minute and try these 6 problems yourself, and then we will look at them and you can start it back up. So I'm going to go ahead and do them, but you pause, take time to work them, and then start the video back up. All right, so they're the same kind we did. Our first one, we want the x, get rid of this 5. It's added to the x, so subtract on both sides. This one cancels, leaves us x equals, what's your signs here? Different signs, subtract sign of the larger. Next problem, we want x. This 3 is subtracted from x. So to cancel a subtraction, we will add 3. That will cancel to 0. That's our plan. Both sides, this cancels out, leaves us x equals, come straight down. Different signs, subtract sign of the larger. Third problem, 2x equals 8. Notice here, these are side by side. That means they're multiplied. So to get rid of the 2, you divide. Remember, you always divide by the sign of the coefficient. So it was positive 2, divide by positive 2. Same thing here. Leaves us x equals 4. The next one is also a multiplication. Negative 4 is right beside the x. That means they're multiplied. To reverse it, you will divide, and you have to divide by negative 4. These will cancel. Leaves you x equals, just do the math over here, 20 divided by negative 4 will give you negative 5. All right, we'll go down here. All right, we have negative x equals negative 10. Remember, this is negative 1 times x. Multiplied, so we're going to divide by a -1 on both sides. Gives us x equals 2 negatives in division gives you positive 10. And our last one there, n is divided by 4 to reverse a multiplication. To reverse a division, you multiply. So you're going to multiply by what you were dividing by. So multiply by 4. Same thing on both sides. This one cancels, leaves us n equals, and this will be a -80. We're going to look at some formula solving just because I think that this really emphasizes those steps that you're doing with one-step equations, because these are going to be one-step formulas. With formulas, they have to tell you which variable to isolate because you have several variables. So they will say solve for, and they'll tell you which variable. So in this first one, we want to isolate the x. That's the one we're treating as the variable. So we go on that side. Whatever else is there, we want to make cancel. Notice this y is subtracted, so we should add a y to make it cancel. Now, one thing that's a little different here, because on this other side you're not going to have like terms, scoot it over or write it at the end. So I just made a little more space. Now we'll clean up, and just like the equations, that piece cancels. Once you get the requested variable isolated, then you're good. Now, you can't do anything on this right-hand side because these are not like terms. Remember, the variable has to be alike to combine. So x is isolated. That's our goal. So that is the answer. Let's try one more, and then I'll find a couple for you. Right, another formula problem. It says to solve for b. So that is the one that we're having as our variable. We are going to isolate the b. Go on that side. So you're looking over here. Here's the b. You don't want the p. It's multiplied by b. To get rid of it, you would divide. You always divide by the sign of what you want to get rid of. And you can write a division right under. So b is isolated. You're not going to be able to do anything here. It's still going to just look like a fraction. So b is equal to a divided by p. B is isolated, so that was your goal. So I want you to pause the video and take a minute or two and try these two problems. Then start the video back and you can check yourself and see how they work. All right, hopefully you did those two problems. Now let's have a look. So in the first one, we want to solve for t. So that means we want to isolate the t, go to that side. So we are over here. T is what we want, so we don't want r. We want to notice these two are side by side. That means they're multiplied. So to get rid of something that's multiplied, you divide. We want t, so we don't want r. So divide by r on both sides. This one cancels. Leaves us t. Keep your equals. This you have to just leave. D divided by r equals t. Right? The other one, you want to isolate the x. So go on that side. Notice this time y is added to the x. So to reverse an addition, we're going to subtract to make it cancel. Over here, we'll scoot it over a little bit because they're not like terms. These cancel. So we have x equals z minus y. X is isolated. That was our goal. You can't do anything over here. We're going to look at a couple more problems with numbers again. And this one looks so much longer than what we were looking at, but it is still only a one-step solve problem. What this one has that's extra is a bunch of simplifying. Right, remember at the beginning I said you have an expression on the left, you have an equals, and you have an expression on the right. If you stay on one half of that equal sign, you can combine any like terms. So we're going to need to do that first. So our like terms, now remember you're only looking at one side. On the left-hand side, these are like terms. They combine. You do your math with your coefficients. So negative 10 plus 11 gives us positive 1. So 1x, you don't have to write a 1 in front of the x. Keep your plus 5 and keep your equals. Right, now we ignore that half and we go on the other side. Look over here, you have some like terms. Those numbers can go together. So 9 minus 5 gives us 4. Now you're ready to start solving. Go on the side with the x, and you're going to take off the 5. It's added, so you're going to take it away. Same thing on both sides. That will leave us x equals negative 1. So remember, simplify first if you have any like things on the same side of the equals. Also, the other side, simplify, and then you're ready to solve. With solving, you work on both sides, and you do the same step on both sides of the equation to isolate your variable. All right, I want you to pause the video and try the following problem. Then come back and we will look at it together. So, hopefully you tried it. Now, this is a long problem. It does have an equal, so it is an equation. But notice we have some things on the left-hand side. So we just down that half, and they can go together. So 4x and minus 3x can go together. Those are like terms. So 4 minus 3 gives us 1, and we keep the x. You don't have to write the 1 with the x. Minus 6, bring your equals straight down. Now go on the other side and combine those like terms. So negative 7 plus 10 gives us 3. And now it's only a one-step solve problem. So you're going to go on the side with the variable, and you're going to add a 6 to both sides. It's subtracted. So you're going to add. This one cancels. Leaves us x equals 9.